Imagine waking up pouring a cup of coffee and realizing you just made $100 million in a single day, while the entire global economy is literally collapsing around you. Now imagine losing every single penny of it. Twice. His name was Jesse Livermore. Back in the early 1900s, he was the undisputed king of Wall Street. They called him the boy plunger. He didn't have fancy algorithms, high-speed internet, or a team of Ivy League analysts. He started as a teenager writing numbers on a chalkboard in Boston, but he possessed an uncanny, almost terrifying ability to read the rhythm of the stock market. He could sense where money was flowing before almost anyone else. If you've ever traded crypto, bought stocks, or simply tried to build an investment portfolio, you've probably experienced that incredible rush when a trade goes your way. For a moment, you feel like you've cracked the code, like you've finally figured out how wealth works. Jesse Livermore didn't just crack the code, he shattered it. What makes his story remarkable isn't just the fortune he built, it's that he pioneered many of the psychological principles professional traders still live by today. Ideas like cutting losses quickly and letting winning trades run became the foundation of modern trading discipline. Yet despite understanding the market better than almost anyone alive, he was quietly building the trap that would eventually destroy him. To understand how he fell, it's necessary to understand how he climbed. Jesse began his career in what were known as bucket shops, unregulated betting parlors where people wagered on stock prices instead of actually buying shares. Because Jesse was so good at reading price movements, he kept winning. Eventually, he won so often that many of these shops banned him entirely. Some reports even claim he had to wear disguises just to get back inside, so he took his talents to Wall Street. Then came 1907. America's financial system was on the edge of collapse. Banks were failing, investors were panicking. While everyone else was desperately trying to survive, Jesse was shorting the market. He was betting things would become even worse. And they did. He earned $3 million in a single day. Adjusted for today, that's roughly $90 million. His influence became so enormous that J.P. Morgan himself reportedly sent a messenger asking Jesse to stop short selling because his positions were adding enormous pressure to an already collapsing market. Just think about that. One man, one office, holding enough market influence to worry the most powerful banker in America. But extraordinary success comes with an invisible cost. Behavioral finance tells us that the human brain isn't designed to process that level of victory. Success begins to blur the line between luck and skill, between favorable market conditions and personal genius. And slowly, Jesse Livermore began believing his own legend. Not long after 1907, Jesse lost nearly everything by breaking the very rules that had made him successful. But he fought his way back. By 1929, he was ready. Then history changed. The Great Depression began. The greatest stock market crash the world had ever seen erased billions of dollars almost overnight. While panic consumed Wall Street, Jesse remained almost completely silent. For months, he had been quietly building one of the largest short positions of his career. When he arrived home after the crash, his wife Dorothy was in tears. She had heard the news. She believed their fortune had disappeared. She had already begun packing their valuables. Jesse looked at her and calmly said, "No, darling, we aren't ruined. This has been the best day of my life." He had just made $100 million. In today's money, that's well over $1.5 billion. He owned mansions, yachts, a private railway car, an army of servants. He had reached the absolute peak of financial success. And yet, this was the exact moment everything truly began to fall apart. The same psychological trap that destroys thousands of investors today had already taken hold of Jesse Livermore. Jesse had written strict rules for himself. He knew every one of them by heart. But knowing the rules of investing is very different from following them when millions of dollars and your own ego are on the line. After 1929, markets began behaving differently. Government intervention increased. The patterns Jesse relied upon stopped working the way they once had. Instead of stepping back, he did the one thing he had always warned others never to do. He traded bigger. He became emotional. He averaged down losing positions. He kept adding money to bad trades, convinced the market would eventually prove him right. The man famous for discipline stopped respecting his own stop losses. He borrowed millions through margin. He doubled down again and again. Friends noticed he looked exhausted. His confidence had changed into desperation. He was no longer trading against the market. He was fighting his own ego. By 1934, only 5 years after making $100 million, Jesse Livermore stood in a New York bankruptcy court. He was broke, again. But this time it wasn't only his fortune that had disappeared. His confidence was gone. The one thing that had carried him through every previous collapse had finally broken. On a cold afternoon in November 1940, Jesse walked into the cloakroom of a luxury Manhattan hotel. He sat down and took his own life. The note he left for his wife contained only a single heartbreaking sentence: "My life has been a failure." How does someone brilliant enough to build and rebuild one of history's greatest fortunes end up here? Because behavioral finance teaches a lesson many investors never truly learn. Getting rich and staying rich require completely different skills. Getting rich demands optimism, risk, bold decisions. Staying rich demands humility, patience, discipline, and the willingness to accept that the market will never obey your expectations. Jesse mastered risk, but he never learned how to stop taking it. He couldn't transform from the hunter chasing wealth into the guardian protecting it. That same psychological trap still exists today. Every investor who believes one successful trade proves they're a genius is taking the first step toward it. The market doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care how intelligent you are. It doesn't care how much money you've already made. It only rewards discipline. If Jesse Livermore could become a victim of his own ego, any of us can. And the next time you're tempted to place a reckless trade simply because you have a feeling, remember the boy plunger sitting alone in that Manhattan hotel.